Alright, I'm back. This is going to be the final installment, number 6 here. I was thinking of not doing this, mainly because these are books that I'm going to probably end up getting rid of. But if you're like me, then you kind of want to know the rest of the books that I have. Uh, so here we go. Don't expect too much commentary here, so I'm trying to keep this last one short because it's going to be boring, I think. Kind of boring, but to each his own. So here we go. How to play chess openings is like a general principles book by Zanoska Borovsky again, not to be confused with Bobrovsky from the Columbus Crew. For the longest time, I couldn't think of Bobrovsky's last name. Anyway, this is not as you would think that it's going to be like very general stuff, but he starts giving you like little more in-depth stuff. I think more than I would like. I wanted it to remain at a certain basic level, and he goes slightly beyond it, which isn't to say that it's a bad idea. It's just to say that it's not exactly what I was hoping it would be. But Zanoska Borovsky is a famous chess author, a respected chess author, so it's going to be a pretty good book. Next, this is, I think I have 2 copies of this. Ruben Fine's Ideas Behind the Chess Openings. So this is a little bit of a broader scope of different openings, and then he's going to give you, like it says, the ideas behind those openings. So if I remember correctly, this has been ages since I looked at this. Yeah, so he's talking about the King's Pawn openings, Queen's Pawn openings, the Ready and English openings, the Birds opening, the Nimzovich attack. Okay, so you're getting a bunch of different openings, and he's going to give you the ideas behind those openings. So this is kind of what you want, right? You want to have the basic ideas of the openings you're studying, so you can more easily learn the derivations. I'm thinking about logic. Learn the variations, and then if you get out of book or if you forget, you can still know what you're trying to accomplish, and that might help you actually figure out what you should be doing next. So, Ruben Fine. Ruben Fine's a famous author, by the way, in chess. I don't think he's current anymore, but he's well known. I have these 2 books, which is Gabor Kallai. I don't think Gabor Kallai is actually like I don't think he's even an IM, but his books explaining the basic openings is a nice. It's kind of like Ruben Fine's Ideas Behind the Chess Opening, not as deep, but he's giving you a broader basis as to how these certain openings look like in like the first like eight or 9 moves, uh, if I remember correctly. So the red one is covering the open games and the semi-open games, and then the blue one, I'm assuming, is going to cover the closed games. Yeah, the closed games. So if you're a D2, D4 player, which is generally what closed games turn into or arise from, then check out this book. Here's a quick knowledge. He's talking about the Queen's Gambit, and in the Queen's Gambit he devotes like 30 pages, so it's not shallow by any means. Maybe I sold this book a little short. It's not shallow, but I don't know how. So it's not shallow, and then he gives you the plans, and he gives you counter plans, right? So this is basically Ruben Fine's version of, this is his version of Ideas Behind the Chess Openings. So, yeah, I don't know if this one's better than Ruben Fine's. Ruben Fine's is probably a classic by now, but any kind of explanation that has concrete, like listed out explicitly plans and counter plans is going to be appealing, and that's why I got it. Chess openings, your choice, Stuart Rubin. I forget exactly what the format of this was. Some important concepts: choice of opening repertoire, be prepared, think for yourself. A trailer, the Gyoko piano, 2 knights defense. So he's going to cover certain openings, and then I guess you choose. Again, some of these books I haven't really looked at. I mean, some of them I have, but when we get into the specific openings, I haven't. Other than like the introduction, and like I might have like try to learn it for a little bit, but then I gave up. Chess openings, Mike Bassman. So this is again a more broader take on chess openings. Contents are principles of opening play, right? Material, tactical, and positional chess, gambits, game analysis, king in the center, attacking the castled king, the Gyoko piano, the Sicilian dragon, the Queen's Gambit, the Nimzo Indian Defense. So he covers a few opening lines or a few opening systems. Okay, I'm not sure about Bassman. I think I remember his name from another book. Being a perennial low to middling player, I've dabbled in unusual openings, to surprise my opponent. If you're like me, I just want to get out of the openings without like being behind severely, you know, and that even applies to white. As a white, I'm not even really trying to get an advantage out of the opening. I just want to get into the middle game, basically even. I don't even care if I'm a pawn down, right? And for when you're playing middling players or low to middle players, being a pawn down doesn't mean much. You're gonna win in the middle game. You're gonna win in the middle game, or you're gonna get back you're gonna reverse the tide, and once you get towards the end of the game anyway. So, but now if you're like a high level player and you're a pawn down, that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. But here, so for me, openings like knight to c3, because they're oddball openings, then you hoping to like steal either an advantage, or you're hoping to at least come out with getting into the middle game without being down, because it would be really unusual if your opponent knew how to take advantage of this opening, if he even knew it at all. So these appeal to middle players like me, or low middle players like me, but I'm sure no grandmasters actually follow it. And this, in the same vein, play b3, right? By Ilya Odesky. The Nimzo Larsen attack. A friend for life. I need a friend for life. Right, I need a friend for life. Next. The C3 Sicilian. So at one point I wanted to learn the Sicilian. The Sicilian, the dragon, well, any kind of Sicilian. And so I bought this book by Sam Collins. Sam Collins is supposed to be a really good writer. I'm sure there was something special that appealed to me about this book. Either the formatting, either the writing, either the explanation as far as like he lays out the themes, or maybe he minimizes the variations. I don't remember what. Anyway, so I'm not going to be using this anytime soon. Maybe ever. Probably sell it. More Sicilian, right? This time John Ends, right? So another one of my opening books. And as we continue, then there's the Grand Prix attack. The Grand Prix attack I'm not sure about, right? This is fighting the Sicilian with an early f4. So the Sicilian is super popular. So how do you want to respond to the Sicilian? The Grand Prix attack, right? By Evgeny Sveshnikov. And I think there's a Sveshnikov variation to the Sicilian, which I was at one time trying to learn. And I think Simon Williams. I think I have Simon Williams's DVD on the Sveshnikov, if I'm not remembering incorrectly or misremembering. But the Grand Prix I still kind of interested in, but it would be like the fourth opening I would want to learn, because for me, picking an opening that responds specifically to the Sicilian seems a little too I don't know, specialized. It's too specialized for me. The Killer Sicilian, here we go. Tony Rotella. Tony Rotella, I don't know who he is. I mean, I've never heard of him as a chess player. I've heard of him as an author of chess books, but not as a chess player. But the Killer Sicilian, this is a pretty thick book. And so when I was interested in Sicilian, I picked up a few books. Anytime I'm interested in an opening, I try to pick up a few books by different authors. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Now, again, because I'm a middling player, I don't want to study all of the openings. I don't want to study all the openings and figure out which ones work. So I want to get somebody's opening repertoire who has pretty much like taken several openings that like maybe transpose into one another, openings that are kind of related in some way, or openings that help you deal with all the other openings, or all the other, yeah, all the other openings that you might meet, and kind of give you like a package deal here, and hopefully it's a condensed, right, not too heavy with too many openings. Your repertoire shouldn't be freaking 6 openings, right? You're talking about a repertoire, maybe you have 4 different openings. Anyway, Vincent Moray, uh, his first opening repertoire, I don't remember what it was, for white. I think I got this because it was a D2, D4 opening repertoire, if I remember correctly, but my memory has long faded. No, it's an E4, so that's why I gave up on this book, because I am now a D2, D4 player. The Queen's Gambit declined. Super popular opening. I forget exactly. Uh, this is a D4, D5 opening, so this is why it appealed to me. Moving on. So before you could decide on an opening, you have to have a general idea of it. This is, remember the green one I had? I don't know if you remember. You have to see my other videos. So this is the complete E4 opening. Now, I'm not an E4 player, but you have to be prepared as a black to play E4. So if you know E4 yourself, then you know how to meet the responses. Then you know how to respond to it. And so this is a good overview. I forget who produces these books. The 3 authors are Jurek, Komarov, and Pantaleoni, which sounds like a funny way of saying pants in Italian. Anyway, so this is the complete E4 opening, which I'm not going to learn, and I will just take up a different system to respond to E4. Bologan, Victor Bologan's Black Weapon. So this is another opening repertoire, but here's your opening repertoire for black. So how do I stop white? And this is how to play for a win if white avoids the Ruy Lopez. So the Ruy Lopez is probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular opening for white, because it gives white, there's lots of options, and it gives white opening chances to win. Good opening chances to win. So it's a popular system. So this book is not going to deal with the Ruy Lopez, because I'm sure that you can write an equally large, equally big book, equally sized book just for the Ruy Lopez responses. So this book deals with everything else that's not the Ruy Lopez. Obviously, it's not really everything else, but it's everything like reasonable to expect. And the format is kind of appealing. I can't really go too deeply into it. I forgot. I looked at this book. I went into it a little bit, but okay. So if it's a repertoire book, again, you really want to limit how many opening systems you're learning. So part 1, E2, E4. If he opens with E4, you respond with E5, and then that can turn into a whole bunch of different games. It can turn into the center game, the Danish Gambit, the Bishop's Opening, the Vienna Fianchetto, the Vienna Gambit, the Vienna Attack. So I'm not sure that this counts as like a... This is not the same as this, right? Look at the size, right? This is keeping it short and saying just use these certain systems to respond to a whole bunch of openings. This one is going to be more thorough, but do you really want to commit to that? And at that point, why have you bought Bologan's Black Weapons? You could have just done your own list, which I'm not trying to disparage the book, but I think it's just not for me. Eventually, I should have known that. I should have decided that before I bought it. Understanding the Scandinavian. The Scandinavian is a famous opening system. A reliable and challenging system for black. I forget what exactly the Scandinavian... I think the Scandinavian is a good response to the E4. Right, and this is by Sergei Kasparov, not to be confused with Gary Kasparov. I almost forgot his first name. That would have been sad. Let's see. Why can't I find what I want? Yeah, so the Scandinavian is a response to e4, right? And the response is basically d5, and then things continue on from there. I'm not going to go into these books because I don't know that much about them anyway. The Diamond Dutch, Victor Moskalenko. Here, I have a second Victor Moskalenko book, and Victor's a good writer. And the Diamond Dutch is still something I'm interested in. The Dutch defense uh, appealed to me way back when I was an e2, e4 player, but I wanted something for d4. Okay, there it is, the Diamond Dutch. I have this book. I think it's probably a pretty good book. I did read a little bit, but it's been too long for me to recall. How to Play Good Opening Moves by Edmar Mednes. And again, I have the Chess Strategy by Mednes. I think he was a contributor on the Caro-Kann with Paul Karras and Bent Larson and a bunch of other players. And so Mednes is obviously a prolific, maybe 3 books isn't prolific, but I think he is probably a prolific chess author. How to Play Good Chess Opening Moves. So this is going to be, should be, I mean, obviously the basics, opening principles, right? Chapter 1, what is the opening? Okay, that's good to know. Chapter 2, the quality of white opening moves. Okay. Chapter 3, quality of black opening moves. Chapter 4, evaluation of moves, the practical approach. Chapter 5, Sicilian defense, basic principles of Sicilian defense. Chapter 6, Sicilian defense, advanced play. I don't want to know that. Not in a book. How to play good moves, opening moves. The Queen's Gambit, decline, the basic principles. Queen's Gambit, decline, advanced play. I'm not sure how advanced it can't be too advanced. Bad moves, how not to play them. That would help. It seems a little general and vague, but okay. Castling, early or late. I think the modern game now castles late, right? It's still good advice and still good practice to castle early, but the modern game is moving away from castling early to like waiting, at least waiting, right? And then pawn play, center formations and weaknesses. So yeah, opening stuff. More on the same. Opening preparation. Mark Dvoretsky, right? The famous Mark Dvoretsky from his endgame manuals, and he was just a great chess coach. And Artur Yusupov, right? Artur is another. I'm following his books, his 10-book series. Opening preparation. I really expected a lot of this book. I think I went through this book like 3 years ago. Not all of it, but I think, and then I gave up. Something disappointed me. So, but just because it disappointed me doesn't mean there's something wrong with the book. Most likely, it was something wrong with me, right? So, why it disappointed me and what about me made it disappoint me, I don't recall. Part 1, General Principles. 2, or Part 1.2, Logic in the Opening. 1.3, Unexpected Moves in the Opening. Initiative, Solutions to Intractable Opening Problems. Practical Exercises. Oh, it has practical exercises. I didn't notice that, so I didn't get far enough to actually take advantage of the practical exercises. Are these regular practical exercises? It's not heavy. It's not heavy to get like five questions throughout a game that's being played, so it's not exactly what I want, and I don't get that any other chapters. Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5. I don't see any more exercises. So anyway, it should be a good book. I mean, I'm imagining it's good stuff, but I couldn't really appreciate it. Of course, the Spanish. The Spanish is super popular, right? The Spanish is another name for the Ruy Lopez, and it's probably the most popular opening system still. This is by Karpov, and it's not by Karpov. It's the Karpov site set systems by Anatoly Bichovsky. I want to say Bichovsky, but I'm not sure if that's correct. This is a short book, which I really like when it comes to opening books. I got this used kind of cheap. I think it was like $3. But this is, yeah, I don't know what to say. Anyway, I have this book. Next, Scandinavian Defense by John Lutz. John Lutz is a well-known author. This is the Anderson counterattack by John Lutz. But this is more like this is like a I forget what they call it, like a I want to say like a variations dump, but it's not called a variations dump. It's called something else. But why is that there? Get that closed. Anyway, okay. So yeah, this is not going to work for me. I'm not going to read that. And even the print and the font and the way they space it out is really making it inaccessible. It looks like I'm looking at the Matrix. Winning with F1, another oddball opening. This is by Andrew Soltis. This is the Birds opening. Maybe the Birds opening is not an oddball opening, but F4 to me seems oddball. But again, I'm not really qualified to judge the Birds opening. But it did appeal to me, and it is kind of like simply presented. So, heck, I might end up keeping this book and trying it again one day. Here we go. Opening players. Opening for the club player, right? Tim Harding. I've seen Harding again, right? Is this the same book? As I remember, it had slightly different name. Was it? It wasn't openings for the club player. It was like something else for the club player. But this covers basic openings like the Ruy Lopez, the Sicilian Defense, French Defense, Queen's Gambit, Accepted Decline, Nimzo Indian, the Benoni. So, okay, for club players. I don't know why those openings are exactly for club players, but that's what it is. Chess openings for the average player, right? Tim Harding and what? Did I just I think they renamed this book, but it's the same book. And I can check right now if I can just I'll just check the title. I mean the table of contents. Ruy Lopez, Sicilian, French. Yeah, it's the same book. So this is the same book with a different title. Oh, not nice. Not really, really not nice. I got tricked into buying that other one. Play the open games as black. John M. So if you thought... anyway, this is again very specific, kind of like a repertoire book, but it's how to get open games by black. What do you do when white avoids the Ruy Lopez? Right, this is the second book that we've seen that kind of excludes the Ruy Lopez, because so much can be written and done with the Ruy Lopez that you're going to have to kind of divide it. You're going to say, okay, my book is not going to cover the Ruy Lopez, or my book is only going to cover the Ruy Lopez. So play the open games as black. So which are the open games? If you're black and you want to play the open games, the Vienna game, the King's Gambit, the Ponziani, the Goring, the Scotch, the Belgrade, the Spanish Four Knights game, the Scotch Four Knights game, the Two Knights Defense. So those are some of the titles if you're interested in opening games as black. This is a famous book, right? This is Lev Albert's Perk Alert. I've heard this book disparaged countless of times, but then I've also heard it say that it's being it's unfair. The disparagement is unfair. But if you want to have a system that deals with E4, this is a complete defense against E4. Probably this is outdated. Probably it's not the best defense, judging from what I've heard and from what I've read. But could you use it at the club level and do well? Yes, you could. So it's a matter of how well he presents it. He has this color coding system, and he has he sections off. Albert has he tries to make things easier to learn. He actually, you can tell he takes his time and thinks how he can help the students. Whether that works or not is a different matter. But anyway, Perk Alert. Lev Albert. The complete Sveshnikov Sicilian, right? And again, Yuri. No, this is a different Yuri. This is Yuri Yakovich. I was trying to learn the Sveshnikov. I forget exactly why I wanted to learn the Sveshnikov, but here we go. I have this book, Sicilian Kalashnikov, right? By Jan Pinsky and Jacob Agard. So everybody knows Agard. So this is another Sicilian book. My private repertoire. So again, this is me trying to steal somebody's private repertoire. I don't know who Karthik PM is. I almost want to say he's just like an internet dude who put out a book on Amazon, and I bought it. But building a powerful queen pawn opening for white, right? So queen pawn opening is d2 d4, and he keeps it kind of simple. I mean, this is a very thin book. Chapter 1, general opening principles. Okay. Chapter 2, the Queen's Gambit. Then some variations, like 6 variations, and then he keeps going. The Queen's Gambit decline, the Queen's Gambit, the Semi-Slav, the Lasker defense, the Rogozin defense. But he's not going to go deeply into that. He's going to go like 2 or 3 moves. I mean, like 3 to 5 moves into it. Yeah, I'd probably never look at this again. An opening repertoire for the attacking player. I'm not an attacking player, but I know the benefits of being an attacking player, and I kind of wanted to, like, I think I just wanted a defense for it, right? I was hoping, like, these guys would be objective enough to give the best responses by black to their attacking style. I'm assuming they wrote it for white, but it doesn't have to be for white. But I'm assuming they're talking about for white. The Sicilian defense, the Scotch game, the French defense, the Caro-Can, the Perk, Scandinavian defense. So I think it's not just all for white, right? It could be for both black. But as an attacking player, you might be interested in that. An opening repertoire for white. So this is Keen and Jacob Argard specifically now saying it's for white. Is this the same book, retitled? I really hate when they do that. Is the other one Jacobson? No, the other one's Keen and Levy. This is Keen and Jacobs. So what is an opening repertoire for white? They use the Indian system, and they use the Indian defenses. They use the Queen's Gambit, and that's roughly it, right? They do include the Benko Gambit, the Budapest, and the modern Benoni. Okay, so I'm not really looking for an opening repertoire for white at the moment. The Killer Chess opening repertoire. So another repertoire. I forget why I bought this one by Summerscale. I've never heard of Summerscale. Sver Johansson seems familiar, but I can't even say. But of course, it's sold. I mean, anytime an easy to learn repertoire for the chess board assassin. I think this is an attacking system, and I think it had like the killer. I forget what it's called. I want to say the killer tomato. No, the berry attack, the 150 attack, the Cole Zuckertort system, beating the anti-Cole systems, classical Queen's Indian, anti-Benoni, anti-Dutch, and then some odds and ends. So attacking players might be for you, not for me. Win with the Stonewall Dutch, right? The Dutch. I like the Dutch. And there's Sverre Johnson. I knew he was a more popular author. I'm not saying that, that proves it, but I knew I'd seen him before. And Ivar Byrne, with contributions by Simon Agdastin, which I have no idea who he is, so I'm not sure it helps to tell me that he contributed. So I have a Dutch book opening. And more Dutch. Stonewall Dutch by Jacob Agard, right? I haven't really read the Jacob Agard books. I know Agard is a really good author, or he's written some really good books. And I can't really comment whether he pulls that off every time or he pulls it off on this book. But I'm not going to be quick to sell that book. I'm going to maybe want to hold on to it and give him another try because he's such a good author. Andrew Klinsman's The Modern Benoni, which I don't want to learn. anymore. So bye-bye, Benoni. Bye-bye, Benoni. But I am kind of hesitant because Richard Palliser is supposed to be a really good author, right? So the modern Benoni, uh, all of my books I really don't want to sell. Like, kind of don't want to sell, even though the ones I really want to sell, I'm not selling them for the money, although I could use the money. I can use the money to buy more chess books. Um, I'm selling them because I think I'll never get to them. But if I think I'll never get to them and nobody will ever get to them, like there's not really anybody I'm going to hand them down to, then I'd rather just sell it. Right? It's different. I have like history books, and let's say I have a bunch of history books. So there's some history books that I'll probably never get to, just because in my lifetime I'll never get to them. Or but I would want to get to them. It's not like I don't want to ever read them. Like if I had the time, I would read them, and so I have no interest in getting rid of them, even though potentially a whole bunch of them I will never read. Um, but these other chess books is like potentially, even if I had the time, I would never read them. So that's different. Anyway, chess openings for Black Explained. This is Albert again, and this is a super popular book for a while. And it is what it is, right? He explains the black openings, um, which is good to know. You need to know you need to have an opening for white, and you need to have an opening for black. I'm not saying you need to have that as a beginning player, or even a low, or even middling player, or intermediate player. Okay, so attack with black. I'm not really an attacking player, but attacking with black, if you want to take an attacking position, or you want to become an attacking player with black, you might consider that. Here's Angus Dunnington. So I was wrong. It wasn't the Scandinavian. His other book that I have from him is the King's Indian Attack. I've heard good things about Dunnington, and I was like, he wrote a kind of thin book on the King's Indian, so I thought it would be like really informative when it comes to like themes and stuff like that. So he gives you the King's Indian against the Sicilian, against the French, against the Caro-Kann. These are the most popular responses to the King's Indian. What happens when black plays d5 and then bishop g4? What happens when black plays d5 followed by bishop f5? The King's Indian reversed, right? When you're the King's Indian with opposite colors, when you're black and you're playing the King's Indian, and other black defenses, and then a list of completed games. But we're at like 100 and like 25, 30 something pages. Not a lot. I haven't given it a shot. But I might hold off before I sell that one because Dunnington has a good reputation. The Complete Queen's Indian, F.M. Geller. I don't know if I'm going to study the Queen's Indian, but I have this book. Almost done here. 4 more books. The Strategic Chess Opening Repertoire for White. Another opening repertoire. The complete plan for black with d4 and then 2 c4. Right? As in the picture, the d4 c4 opening, which I hate to see. So I think this is what motivated me to get it. Other than it was John Watson, right? And other than it's a whole repertoire. So let's look at this one. I might need to remove this from the box and put it on my shelf. The Queen's Gambit Declined. The Tarrasch Defense. Unorthodox Queen's Gambit. Queen's Gambit Accepted. The Slav Defense. The Semi-Slav Defense. The Namzo-Indian Defense. The King's Indian Defense. The Grunfeld Defense. The Benoni Systems and Benko Gambit, the Dutch Defense, and Assorted Defenses. So those are the openings you would want as an opening repertoire for white. But that's a lot, right? To me, that's a lot. That's kind of I think why I put it in the box. I'm not gonna learn 8 or 9 different systems. I'm not gonna do that. No way. The Sicilian, the Sveshnikov. This is by John Cox. John Cox is another famous chess author. I have this book. It's Starting Out series. I don't know if it's a really starting out book, but The Black Demer Gambit by Christoph Schirer. I don't know why I'm pronouncing it with a fake German accent. The Modern Guide to a Fascinating Chess Opening. They're all fascinating. The Black Demer Gambit, besides having a cool name, I don't remember what exactly attracted me to the Black Demer Gambit. It's not just a cool name. It is a d4 it is a D4 opening, right? So any D4 opening would have appealed to me, right? So this is the Black Demon Gambit is a D4 opening, uh, and so I got it, but I ended up not following through on it. And finally, I'm assuming this is another D4 opening, but it's been ages since I looked at it. Play the Ponziani by Dave Taylor, which I don't know who he is, but Taylor is such a common name that it could be any Dave Taylor. And Keith Hayward, and another one, I don't know who he is. I'm assuming the Ponziani is a D2, D4 opening. Otherwise, why would I have gotten it? No, the Ponziani is an E4, E5 opening. I forget what's so special about the Ponziani. I think it was like I think there's something simple about the Ponziani, right? I think it's similar to. Actually, I don't know. I forget, but I think there's something very similar to the Ponziani where it's not heavy. It's not like the Rui Lopez where you have to study your lifetime to get a grip on it. I think the Ponziani is an easy to learn system. I think that was the appeal, and it's an E4, E2. It's an E4. It's an E2, E4 opening, which I need to eventually get. I think you cannot get by. I mean, you can get by for a long time just being a D2, D4 player, but at least understanding some kind of E2, E4 opening, so then you can play against it. But learning the Ponziani isn't really going to make you a defensive player against an E2, E4 opening, unless this guy also follows the Ponziani. So this is like, if you're going to adopt an opening, you're trying to find a simple E2, E4 opening. I think maybe the Ponziani is what I thought would be the solution to that, or would be the answer. But again, I'm just speculating because I've forgotten so much about this. You know, like I said, I've been studying chess, not studying chess. I've been playing chess for a long time. Some of these books I've had since I was like, I don't know, maybe mid-20s. So, and so that's a long time. Some of them I haven't looked at in like 15 years. So even though I might have read half of them or some of them, there's no way I can remember. Like sometimes I can't even remember if they're E2 or E4 openings. That's pretty bad, right? Anyway, that's my book. Those are my books. I think by last count I had something like 210 books and 4 repeats. And that's including the one or two that I have in the mail coming, like Artur Yusupov, that final one. I also have another one coming that I haven't shown you, but I can't remember the name of it. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed checking out my books. Yeah, it's a bit much. Yeah, I should read them. Yeah, owning books doesn't make you good at chess, but I enjoy having them. I've worked and saved up and bought them, and what I do with my money is nobody's business, right? All right, thank you. Leave your comments. I will read them, and I will almost always comment back because there are so few of you that I have the time to do that. All right, later.